Hello, and welcome to Breast Cancer Conversations, a podcast brought to you by survivingbreastcancer.org. I'm Laura Carfing, breast cancer survivor and founder of survivingbreastcancer.org, a nonprofit organization providing community, education, and resources to empower those diagnosed with breast cancer and their caregivers from day one and beyond. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to another episode of Breast Cancer Conversations. Today, I am joined with Abigail Johnston, who leads our MBC webinar series, and we have two amazing guests on the show today. We have Stephanie Walker and Christine Hodgkin. This episode is actually going to be broken up into part 1 and part 2. In part 1, which is today, we're going to listen to Stephanie provide us with an overview of a variety of nonprofit organizations that are excellent resources for those who have been diagnosed with breast cancer, specifically those living with metastatic disease. And then in part 2, Christine is going to walk into more of the science side and the resources that she has cultivated and put together this amazing, beautiful list of organizations that, again, are just here to support us as a community. So episodes 1 and 2 coming right at you. Welcome to the conversation.
We're going to talk about advocates and sometimes caregivers, and we are going to talk about addressing the needs of the MBC community through patient advocacy. We want to talk about support. We are talking about emotional support, medical support, financial, and legal. We also want to talk about the education, which is, the advocacy organizations offer educational resources to help us, the patient, navigate our own cancer diagnosis. So not only are we living with this, we have to steer everybody else in the way that we want them to go in our own diagnosis and treatment plan. Also, we want to talk about policies. Patients do influence government officials to increase funding for cancer research and a quality of health care. This is kind of like a little bit out of my wheelhouse, but I always throw in whatever I can do, write a letter, send an email, visit somebody to share my point of view, to get it to go our way. We can do that. Also, research. We use our own personal experiences, as Christine and I are here today, to inform scientific researchers and the research process. So to start off with, we're going to start off with just a little bit of a few of the organizations with health disparities and racial inequities. First, we're going to talk about Tiger Lily. This organization is a bombshell. She came onto the scene. Mima Carmo is the founder. She came onto the scene advocating for Black women of color with breast cancer. Not just metastatic, but breast cancer, and it's usually for the early stagers, those that were early diagnosed, and those that are young. Considered young nowadays is anywhere between 45 and younger. So this foundation does great for education on symptom management, side effects, community engagement, how to educate yourself and others regarding looking for signs and symptoms of breast cancer, preventive measures, as well as clinical trial information. And not to be outdone, you have Jamil Rivers there that has the Chrysalis initiative. That initiative is fairly new to us in the advocate world. I'm sure she's been working on it a long time. Jamil's organization focuses on addressing the biases of healthcare providers. That is the implicit, explicit, and organizational biases that they have. And if you've never experienced it, and I can honestly say I had not for a long time until a couple of years ago, what it's like to walk into an office, doctor's office, and already be denounced. Your complaints aren't valid, your concerns aren't listened to, just because of the color of my skin. So, and I'm an educated woman. At least I thought I was an educated woman. So I can imagine if I feel that way, how does someone that does not have that same kind of an education, how do they feel? They leave beaten and downthrown already, still dealing with this disease process. We also have Valencia, who has Women of Color Wellness Alliance. She does a lot of yoga retreats and wellness, mental health, yoga. She's rocking it. If I could get in some of the poses that this lady could get into that I seen her in over the past weekend, it would be amazing. Also, a group on Facebook, which has a strong presence in the Black community of breast cancer, the breast cancer world, is the Shades of Brown. It's an information group that you can go to and post questions, get real life answers, and that is it's. I see the person above there, Roberta Albany, who has cancer in a know. She posts a lot. If an advocate is doing something, for some reason, somehow, Bobby knows about it, and she puts it out there on blast. Next, we have some, like the rest of us. It's a fairly new one that is started by Marissa Thomas. She has the young ones there. They have came on the scene there. That's one of their famous pictures of, show all, do all right there, and they offer support also for the young breast cancer patient, whether it's metastatic or an early stage. We have the Miss in Pink, which is with Jasmine Sowers. She's the founder of that. She is doing big things and trying to also get patients, advocates, and industry together to work out some of their issues with biases and in health disparities. We have My Style Matters. We also have New Wave Vita, which is an organization, I believe, that is based out of DC. It's not a clinic, but it's a Latino population-based organization. And they focus on the outreach and education of patient navigation and mental health. Then the next slide, you have Carrie's Touch with Dr. Reverend Tammy Denise. This powerhouse is one, as long as with Jasmine and Marissa, that did the Black Women Speak at San Antonio in conjunction with San Antonio this past December with the Alliance and Become Project. So we also have Touch for Life, and we have also two powerhouse individual advocates. I call Bridget individual, but she started Sierra's Sister, which is on the West Coast. And I have to say that it's kind of unique because it seems like all of the organizations are East and South, but Bridget came on strong out there on the West Coast, holding strong. And her organization, I think, has been around for years. And unfortunately, I can't tell you how long. I didn't do all my research, but Bridget is a very strong advocate out there on the West Coast. We have Carla Harvey, who, she's rocking the advocacy world as she did her own military career. And, some of the advocates, I've been surprised that they are just as, they're different than what they were in their real quote unquote personal lives. I'm sure as in the military, I'm sure Miss Harvey had a thing or two to say, but in the advocacy world, she comes across as, quiet, but a powerhouse. She actually came through a lot of times for the Become Project. She showed up and she also showed out. Our next slide, we're talk about, clinical trials. We all know about Sheila Johnson there. She is also another one of our military veterans as well. She also has written a book there. She, if you see Sheila, she's always has a smile on her face. And, that is something that we, in the metastatic breast cancer world, we patients, we can smile through some of the toughest times. And you just don't have any idea what's going on in our little brains at times. But Sheila is a powerhouse when it comes to clinical trials. She was actually on one and had done very well for a few years on a clinical trial. And that's my little thing there with the Alliance for Become, which was the Black experience of clinical trials and opportunities for meaningful engagement. I wanted to know what the barriers were when talking with Black patients regarding clinical trials. We have all heard the myth of, don't do a clinical trial, you'll get a sugar pill, or you'll not get treatment at all. They'll give you a placebo, essentially. And, having to dispel some of the myths took, a lot of big time and effort to get that out of the way. So we really wanted to find out if given the opportunities, we found out if given the opportunities that Black men and women with metastatic breast cancer would definitely participate in a clinical trial. And all we had to do was be given the information, have that conversation, and be asked. We have Ricky Fairley. This lady blazes trails beyond blazing trails. She is the founder, CEO, and co-founder of Touch, the Black Breast Cancer Alliance. She was also part of Black Women Speak in December, and she has done so much with getting women, Black women with breast cancer or a history of breast cancer to the source of where clinical trials are. To sign up to learn about clinical trials. And she took her show on the road. It's like, it was better than the circus that goes from town to town. But Ricky showed every place Ricky showed up, there was a party. She's a dancer. She loves to dance. So she can dance her way across the stage, and you learn something in the process. So she also did When We Trial, was her show that she did last year. And she's doing things now, bigger and better things now, as well as she's going to kill me. And I'm sorry. Her new initiative that she is doing with the young girls and breast health at the, that's it. What is it? What is it? Know Your Girls, GURLS, talking about your girls hanging around with you. So thank you for that. And so she's doing that as well, and getting to the young people, the Black young ones coming up now, that they don't have this information. It's taboo to talk about, breast cancer or even in general health issues in the Black families, So if they're not talked about it at home, you got to find out somewhere. So I'm thankful that there are some of us out there that are still teaching this or willing to give the information out. Then we have Sharon Rivera Sanchez.
Hey, Stephanie.
Yes.
Stephanie, can I just break in? Would you tell us one or two things that you discovered in the Become was it
the survey?
Questionnaire survey. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Chemo brain strikes again. Would you tell us like one or two things that you discovered? Maybe something that was really significant?
Well, as I had mentioned, just shortly, is that over 75% of us would participate in a clinical trial if we were asked. So, you can't expect us to join in something if we don't know about it. That was truly a shocker, that I didn't expect the number to be that high. I knew I wanted it to be in my heart, but you never know. But I was really, truly surprised at the number, of people that said that they would do it had they had been given the information. A non-shocker was that people, if you are going to tell a Black man or woman or any, about any health issue, they are more receptive if it's going to come from somebody that looks like them, has the lived experience, lived in the community, and know about it. You know what I mean? That's more likely to hit home than having you per se come into my neighborhood and start talking about diabetes and high blood pressure when you don't go to the grocery stores. You don't shop at the stores that we shop at. You don't look like anybody that lives here, and it's a big bummer. We can sit there and you can talk to us and we will nod. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. And we're thinking, about groceries that need to be bought, children that need to be picked up, anything just to get out of the appointment. And it's something that didn't shock me is when we did the survey, I reached the choir. I didn't want to reach the choir, but I got them anyway. And those, when I say the choir, it's the people that are connected to social media, that are educated, that are maybe go to an NCI designated cancer center, that live in the burbs. I didn't get the group that I was craving for, and that was the person that lives in a rural community that may not have had a great education or upbringing, that's probably in an underserved area, that goes to a community cancer center, which 80% of all cancer patients are treated in a community cancer center. They're not at an NCI designated center. So that is some, and trust, building trust. You have to go into the community more than once to build trust with somebody. So those were some of the things that we, found out on the Become survey, and try to focus that on Black women speak as well.
Thank you, Stephanie. Sorry to interrupt you. I know I said I wasn't going to interrupt you.
No, that's okay. And then we have another dynamic advocate is Sharon Rivera Sanchez that has, she's the founder of Trials of Color. We talk about quality of life. Everybody's talking about, this treatment will, extend your life 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. We want quality of life, not just to be here just for the sake of being here. I want quality life and survivorship. And we have some great advocates on that front. We have Ann Lozier that has the patient-centered dosing initiative. More doesn't always mean better for us, So I just think that's a great initiative that she has. And she has taken that a long way to where even it was mentioned at SABCS, I think, or was it ASCO, that it was mentioned that, we need to start looking at reduced dosing for some of our patients, because we're not all built the same, that's for sure. Then we talk about survivorship. You're diagnosed with breast cancer if you're an early stage, and you have a survivorship program that you enroll in or you take, and there's a beginning and then there's an end. For us living with metastatic breast cancer, yeah, we all had that beginning, but we know we're not going to have an end. Our end is going to look totally different than a regular survivorship program. And that's where Leslie Glenn popped up on the scene. I tell you, with Project Life, with her virtual house, in which she offers so much to the MBC patient and caregivers. She offers cooking classes. One of the patients does a cooking class. And Abigail here does a lot of legal clinics for us, answering legal questions that, we can't afford to really go to a lawyer every time we have a question. We don't have one on retainer, but we do now. We have Abigail. So she helps a lot, with people that are coming in that have questions about Social Security disability and long-term, disability and the finagling of that kind of thing. She also does in her virtual home. She has healing circles, art classes, classes for women that have children and how to communicate and have these children to hopefully grow up with a fairly rounded, normal life, living with the parent that has terminal disease. We also have the National Coalition for Cancer Survivorship. They do an advocacy program as well that many advocates take. Project
Lead. Project Lead.
Project Lead. That's the Project Lead. And so we have, have those dynamic people. And we always talk about awareness and education when the NBC community. Abigail has one that's called Living Out Loud. We had Lisa Ladico, who was the founder of our NBC podcast, who unfortunately is no longer with us. We have, Wildfire is a magazine for the young woman living with breast cancer. And that was April Stearns. And we have ABCD, After Breast Cancer Diagnosis. And then we have the president of the Metastatic Breast Cancer Network, which is Shirley Mertz. And Shirley has been around, I'm telling you. She knows the ins and outs of many organizations and knows everybody that knows anybody. If you want to know about advocacy, Shirley is your woman on that one. So with I'm sorry. The next slide shows some of the amazing people that go out of their way every day and discuss, live, share, teach about metastatic breast cancer. Felicia Johnson, her story is amazing. She has several women. I mean, several women in her family that had been diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer. Then you have Kelly Shanahan that is out there rocking the world a lot of times with government policies as well. Talisa Shepherd is one of our longtime thrivers of 20 plus years living with metastatic breast cancer. And many of these women on here are, women in their own right, advocates in their own right for the things that they have done in the advocate world. Connection and support, that's very important when we talk about living with metastatic breast cancer. We all need some place to go or find the information to where we can have that connection with somebody that understands. And these organizations that are just some of the organizations that provide that safe space for the advocate to live and to share, and that is Living Beyond Breast Cancer. They deal with, they assist patients of all ages and all stages, per se, of breast cancer, from early stage to metastatic, from the young to the old. They have a wealth of resources, and that's where I launched my advocacy. Was my coming out party was at my first LBBC conference in 2018. Then you have Share. Share is a cancer support network. They have support classes all week long on different modes of communication, whether it's by phone, by Zoom, or in person. And they do webinars as well on education women with cancers such as ovarian, cervical, ovaries, your cervical, your breast, your one more. Come on, anybody. I'll get back to it. But they deal with women cancers. Then you have the Young Survivor Coalition, which is an amazing organization. I learned a lot more about it this past weekend at their annual conference that was held in Charlotte. These are women that have been living with breast cancer for 20 plus years. The turnout for metastatic patients was small but powerful. Some of those pictures of the advocates on the previous slides were there. So when they show up, there's always a party. And apparently these young women, um, sad. It was my first time going, very emotional. I just can't imagine living in a home with stage 4 breast cancer and having to raise another living, breathing human being, going through the things that people are going through, as well as, I can't imagine. Shariat is a Jewish community facing breast cancer. They do a lot of education in the Jewish community. Then you have breast cancer social media on Twitter. They meet, I believe, is on Monday nights. Topics are tweeted out and people get on and share their comments and stuff. And then you have Angel Mara Center, and that's for the women with advanced cancers as well. We're always looking for support for metastatic breast cancer. You may think you were ready for retirement, and then you're hit with a diagnosis, and there goes your savings, your husband's savings, your kids' savings, your kids' savings, and so on and so forth. So you don't have money saved up. So there are organizations that we as cancer patients are very fortunate that they exist, because you never know when you're going to fall on hard times, as I did in my case. So you have the Pink Fund, which offers financial support for women with breast cancer. You have Infinite Strength. That's another, it's unique, very unique. That organization that is based in Northeast, the U.S., part of the Northeast, Connecticut. They focus on women with metastatic breast cancer that are caring for those other tiny, young, breathing human beings that live in the home under the age of 18. She provides financial support for them as well. Then you have Jersey Baker, who is living with MBC and has her own transportation service, Angels in Disguise. She actually is non-ambulatory, and she actually is able to, she takes people to and from their cancer treatments, or to and from the drugstore or pharmacy on the way home from their treatments, to make sure they get their meds. And I think that truly speaks volumes. And no matter how low some of us get, we're always out there wanting to make sure somebody else has as well. And then you have Lakeisha Gordon, who is the founder of Pink Shoes, and Shay Sharp's Pink Wishes, and Unite for Her. Unite for Her is another unique, fairly new organization founded by Sue Weldon, who didn't understand why some of the things that she was asking for during her diagnosis, such as, complementary therapies such as massage, acupuncture, those kind of things weren't included. So she's making sure that women with metastatic breast cancer have the availability of those resources as well if they choose to. So she has a passport system for these women, and it's renewed every year that they can use passport stickers. There are allotted so many stickers a year on different classes, whether it's food delivery baskets or exercise class, mental health. That's a great segue into the next speaker here. She has a wealth of knowledge and is always giving too. So, Christine, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Stephanie, thank you so much for sharing the wealth of information and resources that are available to those living with metastatic breast cancer and really actually all stages of breast cancer. There are so many great organizations out there, amazing women behind the scenes who are actually going out there and creating these resources for our community, which is just fantastic. I will be sure to link to all of the resources that were mentioned in today's episode. And, I want you guys to actually take this information in and absorb it. So I'm actually going to cut this into 2 different episodes. So thank you, Stephanie, for part 1. Christine, we will get to you in part 2, which again, I will be sure to hyperlink in the show notes below. So if you are interested and want to hear even more information, you can get that information right away on part 2. So thank you all for listening and being part of this amazing community. And, we're not in it alone. There's a lot of support out there, and we're here to offer the support and resources so you have it at your fingertips. And thank you, everyone, for listening to our show. I would like to acknowledge that all of the information on our podcast are from personal experiences and are not a substitute for professional medical advice. You should always contact your medical care team. Our podcasts are made possible because of donations from listeners like you, so please feel free to make a contribution through survivingbreastcancer.org/donate. And there are so many ways to get involved with our nonprofit and our organization, not just through listening to the podcast, but through all of our virtual programming. So you can check out all of our lineups by hopping over to survivingbreastcancer.org/events. And as always, all of our programs, services, and resources are absolutely free. Thanks again, and keep on thriving.